To review the power of the mayor. So we have a city manager position. We can fire the city manager for any fucking thing at any fucking time. All we need is 4 votes out of 7 on city council and a 30-day notice. So all we need is a simple majority. Only 4 people, as long as we could convince 4 people's minds to fire the city manager would be out on his ass within 30 days. And hell, we could even probably find his replacement on day 1 so that there is no discontinuance of governance. So within 30 days, we could fire the guy. We could rehire a brand new person. And since we have this mechanism, it's kind of crazy that we haven't been using it. Jerry Pacheco, he got fired. Pueblo will fire you if you try to bring Barack Obama here to speak. How dare you bring that black candidate, probably the first black president, right? But Donald Trump could come here. That's okay. Donald Trump won Pueblo City, so that just tells me that it is more conservative than it is progressive. So this is just some research that I had did before the election, and so this is the things that I had noticed, and for no, it's not particular that, okay, so it's not good or bad, it's just differences or things that okay. Section 23. There's a 5-year term for the first Big Daddy Strange. So for the mayor, the first mayor, it's going to be a 5-year term, and then it's going to be a 4-year term after that. Section 14-1. Pueblo City's aviation department rising. This one just maybe, I just had questions about it. It went from being governed by one thing into another, like by ordinance versus by advisory position, some shit like that. So it was kind of like why it made it harder for the city council to say anything to the aviation department to give more authority to the aviation department. Section 6.4, the law and finance mafia protection law. This is greater protections for city employees who injure the public. I think this is going to be used for the immunity clause for police officers. So whenever police officers are sued, they have to go through this section 6-4. 6-4 is the law and finance mafia protection law. So this protects all the city employees who happen to injure the public within the course of their duties. So before you had to write a letter to the city manager, you had 30 days or 60 days. There was all these different regulations and they changed it up for whatever reason. I don't know. But now the city employees have immunity. They have immunity. Section 4-6 Mayor's Cabinet, aka Algonquin Roundtable of Executive Authority. So apparently the mayor gets to choose a cabinet. And then that's their Algonquin Roundtable of Executive Authority. The reason why I'm going over this, because I had noticed that the original website that had all of the changes that I had referred to before the election is no longer there. But I also heard that City Council had doubled down and either reinforced those same 70 changes or they changed some on their own. If they changed some on their own, well, that's fucked up. That's not what the people voted for, right? So 70 changes, just change it like how it was, basically, unless there's just some logical, blocking. Section 314, strong mayor can't sign the city's check book like the city manager does. So there's something about the signature now goes to the Treasury Department. So, and I got an explanation for all this underneath. So section 314, let's see what I did here. Section 314 says that the city manager has the power to furnish bonds with such surety, but under Mayor Strangelove, only the unelected director of finance gets that power. So who gets to furnish bonds with surety? Only the director of finance. So who's the director of finance? Who's in charge of the finance department? So the mayor does not get to sign the checks. Not with the bonds, at least, with such surety. So the bonds with such surety only get signed by the director of finance. So that is a power that is taken away from the mayor, taken away from the city manager. It's a power that the city manager has now that the mayor does not have, that the mayor will not have later. So the 5-1, no independent judiciary. The mayor will be king over an army of judges. They could fire and hire all the judges that they want to. Section 4.3 was deleted. So a huge part of the power of city council was able to fire Sam Azad. They can't fire Sam Azad no more. They can't fire the mayor. We're stuck with the fucking mayor. Out of 23 candidates, we only get, a few of them that's going to become only one of them is going to become our mayor. Maybe two of them will go to the runoff, but only one is going to become the mayor. And that one person will be able to choose all the judges, fire an entire judicial branch. They're in charge of the executive branch. There's 3 branches of government. Some of these candidates don't seem to understand the 3 branches of government. So for someone to criticize city council as if they're taking more power, if they're just reinforcing their power, they are one branch of government. They're the legislature. They write the laws. The mayor can't do shit except for what the city council actually tells them to do. Mayor signs the laws and he enforces the laws. So he can't pass any new laws without city council, but he enforces the current laws on the books. He can arrest the police. He has substantial control over hiring and firing all the employees. And what else does he have? Money. He's got budgetary, control too. He gets to introduce the budget, which gives him basically the whole shebang. So because Section 4.3, because now the city council cannot fire the city manager, the mayor, we're stuck with the fucking manager for 5 years. We could have just thrown the fucking city manager out. If any of these assholes actually truly wanted to be mayor, they would have applied to be city manager. They would have got the city manager kicked the fuck out, and then they would have applied, gone before city council. City council would have hired them. So that's one way to become, that's how we picked professional. We wanted a professional executive, and that's the reason why we had a city manager position. It's why we threw the fucking mayor system out and got a commissioner system, then threw the commissioner system out and got ourselves a city manager in 1954. So the Department of Purchases and Supplies, a brand new department has been created, Purchases and Supplies. There is unlimited non-consecutive terms for Big Daddy strains. The only thing that they're not allowed to do is have 2 consecutive terms. That's what they are prevented from doing. They cannot have 2 consecutive terms. So if they can't have 2, so once you have 1 term, you can't have another term, but you can have a term after that. So only 1 term per time, 5 years, and then 4 years after that. And a brand new department was created. I mean, if we would have just asked that question, do you want a purchases and supplies department created in Pueblo City? They might have said no to that. So a lot of this, they knew about the mayor. They didn't know about any of this other shit. Some of these other things I just was interesting to me. District number 2 was formed by Section 15-3, Section 2-6. If you miss 2 unexcused days as a city council member, you're fired. So city council must show up. They must show up every day. If they have 2 unexcused days, they're gone. So there's, this is incredible. 1954 got us a mechanism to fire the executive, the chief executive, the city manager, if they are pieces of shit. And we also, the 1954 charter give us the power to throw out city council members who do not show up for work. So, they get the honor and the privilege of being city council, but if they don't show up for work and they do it twice, they're fired, they're gone. And then it's a vacant position. Do they get reappointed? Do you have a special election? What happens then? So, pay attention to these city council members. They can't have 2 unexcused days per Section 2-6. Now, this is a video before. I'm going to do one. I'm going to read all the changes that they did afterwards just to see. So I'm refamiliarizing myself with all this. So Section 13-4, park employees can be deputized to arrest Big Daddy Strange. But Big Daddy Strange can't arrest a park employee. So this goes to just my theory of government. And ultimately, the cops work for the executive branch, and the executive can arrest the police. Because if the executive can't, the 3 branches of government, all 3 branches are over the police. We believe in a civilian control over military, so it'd be the same with the police too. And it's under the executive branch. I don't think most executive and legislatures do anything in order to rein in, except for the budget, soft power. But in terms of actually checking the police, perhaps the judicial, but I'm even doubtful about the judicial branch because they just rubber stamp anything and everything, that the police officers charge with somebody. So there's no check for the police branch. So it's kind of crazy that a park employee can be deputized to arrest Big Daddy Strange, but some people might say that they can't arrest, but they have to. How else can they enforce? How can the executive branch enforce their will upon the police unless they got the power to arrest? Of course they got the power to arrest. They're the goddamn mayor. They're Mr. or Mrs. Pueblo City. Who is going to be Mr. or Mrs. Pueblo City? Who's going to be the first 5-year Reich? You know, people might bitch about Sam Azad. He's been in there for 5 years, but we could have fired him on day 1, on day 30, on day 60, and we could have fired him like that. We could have fired him like it wasn't shit. You're fired. Government, fucking you're fired. And you're telling me there's not a reason around here to fire Sam Azad? Of course there is. Homeless, there's no fucking homeless shelter. Sam, you're fired. There's all this goddamn poverty. Sam, you're fired. You know, there's all this crime. Sam Azad, you're fired. So, probably many more. What about all the limbs? You know, he only got half because of that poor limb, project. You're fired. But now we'll only, since we live in Colorado, we get the power of recall. So that means if we get a whole bunch of signatures, then perhaps we'll be able to kick out the mayor if they really fuck up majorly. But it'll be the mayor. It'll be a hard sell, especially if he, is popular or gets a bunch of people to back him and is liked by many. So, yeah, the recall, it's not an easy mechanism to get rid of them. We're not stuck with them, since the power of recall is, sacred in Colorado. But I feel like city council cut their own dicks off. They cut their own fucking dicks off. This mayor it's a strong mayor, it's a strong city manager, so they nipped and tucked a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit more, a little bit less. They both are the 3 branches of government. There was a strong executive, chief executive, and it's still a strong chief executive. So that part, they got veto power now. So they can undo city council over and over again. They have to confirm, city council has to confirm the department heads, but the mayor has to nominate them. And if the mayor doesn't nominate you, you'll never become a department head. It has to go through the mayor. So the mayor has more power when it comes to choosing the department heads. They have to work in tandem with one another, but that's it. City council only gets to choose the department heads. They only get to confirm the department heads. They don't get to confirm any other employee in in the government. So everybody that works under those departments is at the mercy of the mayor. So the Department of Aviation is governed by ordinance instead of resolution. Resolution is just an advisory opinion. Ordinance is a law. So if you're going to make any kind of policy coming out of the Department of Aviation, if the Pueblo City is going to govern the Department of Aviation, they must pass a law, a very specific law saying you must do this and you must do that, which is a harder sell than giving an advisory sort of statement, a resolution, which just says that the aviation department will be free of, sexual harassment, let's say. So you could pass a resolution that says we're going to be free of sexual harassment, and that's just an advisory opinion, but that's the policy for the entire Department of Aviation. Now you would have to pass an actual law. So you would say, which, maybe that's better, maybe it's worse, but I think it's a harder sell resolution. You could easily get a majority of city council to back, but an ordinance, an actual law, with sexual harassment, pass a law saying sexual harassment. If you sexually harass people, maybe, $100 fine or some shit. So that would be an ordinance. You would actually have to pass, a law that has teeth, not just an advisory opinion. So, why? Why? Section 14-1, biggest question for me is why? And I think it gives the Department of Aviation more control because they're hard. They're harder to pass an ordinance. But if Pueblo City does pass an ordinance, then they will be more, I guess, resolute in their demands. Okay, so that's a little bit about the question 2A. Now I want to compare and contrast the power of the mayor versus the power of the city manager. Okay, so the 1954 charter is the one that gives us the city manager. Here is what we used to have. This is what we have now after I guess November or whenever the mayor is elected. All this will be gone. They've probably changed a lot of this shit already. They've already issued a brand new charter a 2018 charter. So I would love to compare and contrast to see my notes, because I also want to see the original document. Where were the original 70 changes? I hope that's still out there somewhere, because it would be, if they're reinforcing their powers that was already there, that's fine. If they're adding shit, well, that's a crime. So the 1954 charter eliminates the politics in the city's chief executive decision. We vote for city council. City council votes for the chief executive. Now the people vote for it. So now it's going to be who, what are you, this and that, whatever. So city council could fire the chief executive with only 4 votes and a 30-day notice. So that gives the legislative branch a substantial amount of power. Aviation department governed by a council resolution 14-1. City manager hires and fires all city employees without council interference. So the city manager gets all the hiring power, all the firing power. The city manager, however, doesn't get veto power. The city manager and the finance department director signs surety bonds. So this is both the finance department director and the city manager can sign the surety bonds. The bonds with with high surety, section 314. There's already a purchasing department, and I said 14 other departments. It turns out there's 23 departments at least, which it started out as only 10, now 15, now 23. And that's what it used to be. So we already had a purchasing department. We got a purchasing department now. But the mayor, we're going to see a purchases and supplies department on top of purchasing. So we got purchasing department, and then we got purchases and supplies. For whatever fucking reason, just to be redundant, just to keep on adding departments. The city council hires municipal judges unilaterally. So the city council gets to hire the judges and they fire the judges. So city council gets the control over the judicial branch. Now the mayor will get control over the judicial branch. The city council only gets to, I think, confirm. Yeah, the mayor hires the municipal judge, council confirms. Mayor fires municipal judges unilaterally. So they hire and fire them. I don't know if they do it unilaterally. Some reason I didn't write unilaterally for them firing, but they had the power to hire and fire. So city council not only give their own firing. The city council can't fire the mayor. They can't fire the chief executive anymore, and city council can't fire any of the judges anymore. So, and they can't hire them anymore. So I think that the mayor is actually is much stronger than the city manager, but I think it might be your taste, and it might just be how the chips fall, where they may, how people interpret all this too. So like I said, it takes some power away, but it gives some power back, right? But he's got veto power. The mayor has veto power. I guess the city council gets to confirm department heads. That's at least some power that they get, right? But city council gets to the mayor has veto power. The mayor can fire and hire all the judges, and the mayor can fire and hire every other person but the department heads, and he gets to nominate the department heads. So no department head can be hired unless the mayor approves of him first in the process. There's no minimum or maximum term limits. Just you can't have 2 consecutive terms, so you just can't succeed. Only 1 4-year term, then someone else, right? So we can only do Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, not Bush, 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 Clinton, Clinton, Clinton. Incident reports for street injuries must be filed in 60 days. Section 6.4 was a big question for me, and Gradisar said it was immunity, the immunity clause. He had answered that at the Pueblo College. At a forum at the Pueblo College. Okay, so that's how things used to be. Now, how are things now? I could have actually put them together, but the current mayor has politics into it. So who is that person? Where are they eating at? Where do they go to church? What do they believe about abortion and this and that? So we have, it's a popular elected position, so it's not nominated and appointed by city council anymore. The decision has been, another decision been taken away from city council, given to the people. So that's more exciting. So, the whole point of city manager is to guarantee a professional. So if you like that, the CEO board of directors kind of organization, then I don't personally, care. I like democracy, so I thought this was a step in the right direction, but it just didn't go far enough. I think all the department heads should be elected. I think the police chief, the fire chief, the clerk. All these county positions are elected, so how come these city positions aren't elected? We elect the sheriff, right? We elect the county clerk, but we don't elect the city clerk, and we don't elect the city police chief. And they're nice guys, from what I hear, and what I observed. I don't know them personally, but that's they were appointed. They weren't elected. So it's a step in the right direction. It adds politics to the city's chief executive decision, which, that does suck. Well, it was kind of like when the school board picked Kenny O'Neill. The school board had hired Kenny O'Neill after a rigorous application process. So the school board was, 5 people, I think, right? So 5 people really analyzed 10 or 20 applicants, and then they picked the best one out of all those applicants. Well, in some respects, that's actually much more, there's more scrutiny, it's more organized, versus let's just have an election and then anybody and everybody could go to the polls and vote for who the fuck ever. So who's actually paying attention to each and every application as close as, say the school board did with Kenny O'Neill? Before he got booted out and the election, took over. So the decision, it would be a more professional decision, right, to look at the applications and then come up with that. But you got to be popular in order to become the mayor or to win an election, which is a different kind of skill set, than just being able to do the job. Can you do the job? All right, but can you make it look good? Can you can you do the job and look at the people and make it look good? And be a cheerleader, and don't get busted smoking a bunch of crack with a hooker ever, right? That's a bad look. So I'm getting thirsty here, but I want to finish this. Okay. So the power that the mayor has, the oncoming mayor, the postmodern mayor, the brand new mayor, we've never had a mayor, well, for 50 years. Actually, I'd like to ask all these mayor candidates, who is the first mayor? Do y'all even know who the fucking first mayor was? If not, learn who the first mayor is. Actually, and if you're listening to this, you're a citizen, ask these candidates who the first mayor of Pueblo is, because we've had at least 20 that I know of, and maybe even 50 mayors prior. This is not the first mayor. We threw the fucking mayor system out in 1911 when we became a charter city. When we declared our independence, we said, fuck the mayors. We are independents. We'll never be corrupted by mayors ever again. That's what Pueblo City said in 1911, 1912, 1913, and so on. So, the city council cannot fire the mayor. The mayor is guaranteed at least a 5-year term to begin with, 4 years after that. So the mayor, we're stuck with the fucking mayor. We're stuck with this, with Nick Ayers, or we're stuck with, whoever, Gary Clark, whoever is elected mayor, we are stuck with that person for 5 years, unless they majorly fucked up to a recall, a level of recall. The aviation department is governed by council ordinance. The mayor hires and fires all the city employees. The council only confirms the department heads. So the mayor hires and fires everybody who works for all the department heads. The council only has a check on the leader of the 23 departments. Mayor gets veto power, so the mayor gets to veto any of the laws that council passes, and I think only a 5 of 7 majority, so they only need to get one more vote to jump over the mayor. So 4 of 7 pass something, the mayor vetoes it, then all you need is 5 of 7 to get it passed. Why are we not doing unanimous, decisions? So for the mayor, the veto is, it doesn't seem like it would really stop that much. It only stop a bill that's only barely gets by. So if there was 4 votes, he vetoes it, and they can't get a 5th vote, then it dies. So in order to get a veto-proof majority, you need 5 councilmen or women. So if you get 5 councilmen of the 7, the mayor's veto power doesn't mean jack squat. The finance department director signs the surety bonds. Mayors cannot. So there's something, they can't sign checks or bonds or whatever. However, that, they have a big section about all the bonds. I'm not going to admit that I know it all, all that financial fucking bullshit, and I don't know if it's written for or against the people, but since it's not written in the language of laymen, I'm going to assume that it's probably, corrupt as fuck. But now, under the mayor cannot sign bonds with a surety as much as the finance department director. So who's going to be the director of The Department of Finance is going to be a big decision. So, you know, that'll be something we can look forward to next year. Purchases and Supplies Department has been added, so another fucking department, 23 plus 24, or is that the 23rd department? Mayor hires municipal judges. Council confirms them. So council again gets a check, just like the department heads on the municipal judges. They get a check. So the mayor gets a check. The city council gets a check on who the mayor hires to be a municipal judge. The mayor can hire unlimited amount of municipal judges. The mayor can hire unlimited amount. So he could hire 10 fucking judges for the city if he wanted to. We only have one right now, Carla Sykes. And so those are the three branches of government. So if you're going to be a candidate, if you're going to be the mayor, you need to understand that you're going to have to get along with those two branches. You're going to get along with the judicial branch. You're going to have to get along with the legislative branch. And those are your checks. So they might flex their muscle and use their power to stop you from doing something. And, you know, you could get crazy violent like they do in fucking backwards ass places, or just, you know, use the political mechanisms that's at your disposal. Yeah, the mayor's got the veto, but you can, with a supermajority, I think all you got to do to beat the veto is get a supermajority, which is at the least 5, at the most 6, right? And then if all city council wants something, then that's going to pass no matter what the fucking mayor says. So the city council very much has a large say-so. They pass and write all the temporary and permanent laws of the city, but they don't enforce shit. They write the laws. The enforcer is the mayor. So he enforces all the current laws. He enforces all the, you know, permanent and temporary laws that have been passed before him. He gets to enforce all, you know, all the statutes and stuff. So anything the city council, he's supposed to enforce, and if it works properly, then he'll do it that way. There might be a constitutional crisis if he doesn't. So, I mean, that's just the whole, that's the, you know, that's the fun of the three branches, the pull and tug and ebb and flow. So, mayor fires the municipal judges unilaterally. So, again, when it comes to the judicial branch, it was taken away from city council. Now, the executive branch has all the power, virtually all the power, except for the confirmation power of the city council over the judges. They could hire the 10 judges if he wants, as long as council confirms. Then he could just fire them all whenever the fuck he feels like it, without council confirming them. The mayor is limited to 2 consecutive terms, unlimited non-consecutive terms. There's, which I already said, there's also a 60-day provision is eliminated. Immunity for city employees has been added. Immunity for city employees. We're going to allow the city employees to do and hurt whoever the fuck they want to, you know, do and hurt to. So that's, I was very appalled by that. That was a good, there's 70 fucking changes. That should be a good enough reason not to have supported the damn thing. But that's where we're headed to, okay? So, personally, I think the mayor is a super mayor. They're very, they, you know, they have a ton of power. But because of the 3 branches of government, because of the amount of power that cities have, which I'll actually run down that real quick, the court system have, when it comes to determine state power, does Denver have this power, that power? Does the city of Pueblo have this or that power? There's a gray area in between what's the city power and what's the state power, because we got home rule, the home rule authority here. So since we're our own city, we're our own municipality, here's 10 areas of state courts have determined to be of exclusive local concern. So we have all the power when it comes to municipal courts. We have all the power when it comes to local land use and zoning. We have all the power in the city over the state when it comes to capital improvement construction, when it comes to our elections and our recalls, when it comes to our broad employee regulation, including municipal employee residency requirements. Theft of items under 300 is within the city's domain. 100% not Denver. Public right-of-way of franchises is under the city's domain. Police court via Blackman v. County Court 169 Colos 34054 55P2D885 1969. Taxing for revenue and broad condemnation of property via Article 20, Section 1, and the court case City of Thornton v. Frico, Frico, 1978. So, when it comes to all the authority that is in a city, they get all the city powers, but it's distributed amongst 3 branches. So that's just how America is run. You know, it's if they just reinforce their powers, then that's acceptable. That's fine. But if they did change the wording, then that's criminal. So.